Hello, I'm Walt Bartman. I'm the founder and director of the Yellow Barn Studio at Glen Echo and the Friends of the Yellow Barn. And I want to welcome you to our 27th annual Friends of the Yellow Barn member show. This is a really unique show because it really showcases the great work that's being done by our members. And, this year we had a large turnout, actually the most that we've ever had, 233 entries, from which 80 were picked by our juror, David Sharpe. He's here today. I want to introduce you to David. Welcome, David.
Welcome, Walter, and welcome everybody, and thanks for having me. I'm really was pleased to judge, and it was a lot of great work, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, and you're out in British Columbia, correct?
No, I'm actually in the foothills of Alberta right now, where we just moved from Eastern Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, what I know of David, so everyone is aware, I've followed his work for a number of years, and he's the kind of painter that I think really, would be an excellent judge for this show. He brings a lot of experience. He's a unique thinker. His work is incredibly unique, and I believe you'll get and enjoy a lot from this interview. So we're going to go now and do a little introduction showing he's an outstanding landscape painter. You can see that he's had some experience as a teacher, and I'll let him talk a little bit more about that. All right, he's influenced, he said, by American and British and Russian Impressionist painters. And he's a member of the Tonalist Society, and I think that he's the only Canadian member, if I'm not mistaken, and he's won many, many awards, all right, for his work. And he shows in a number of major galleries. So this is one of the galleries that he's showing in, the Mountain Gallery in Banff, Alberta, and
right.
And the work, I think, is exceptional. You can see his major piece there. David, if you would like to speak now, maybe talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure, Walter. Actually, as it said in the intro there, I went to art college in Alberta here. I graduated and majored in illustration. So I worked as an illustrator for a few years, and drawing everything from fashion to oil drilling bits. So you really have to, know your stuff. And then I saw where illustration was going. It was waning. The market was starting to wane. So I switched over and went into advertising, art direction, which then I was in for 35 years in various agencies, with a spell of having my own design studio in Vancouver for a while in the middle of all that. But I think, I had luckily a traditional training in drawing and color and composition and all that. And that has served me well over the years. And I guess when I turned 50, I was looking around and at what I was going to do when I got out of the business, because it's a pretty hard game, that advertising. I mean, I loved it, but it was pretty crushing in terms of deadlines and everything that goes with it. So I started looking around, and I found in a remainder bin one day a book by a British painter by the name of Trevor Chamberlain, who some of you may know or may not know. And I looked at it, and I looked at it and says, oh man, this is incredible. It was like plein air. So, and I had never really heard the term that much. So, I went out like everybody, bought the French easel and all the stuff and started painting, and basically converted an old garage behind our house in North Toronto, and just gutted it and then painted in there for 3 years and threw most of it out. It was really just getting brush mileage. Until I was at a point where I figured I was what I called gallery good, and then went looking for galleries, and fortunate to have found some in Toronto, and then just kept kind of moving from there to where I am now, and left advertising behind.
Well, you have had a great career, and a lot of people know who you are. And this,
Yeah, well, I'll tell you though, I think all the design work, the graphic design work I did over the years, 35 years of it, served me by training my eye into, negative space and positive space, because you always had to chop up a page into, okay, type goes here, picture goes here, all those things that you have to balance, which when you're painting is the same thing. So I think I really honed an intuitive sense of design through that training. Um, and
it,
I
it-
was very lucky.
yeah, and it shows in your work. And what has always impressed me about your work is, how unique it is. This was one of my favorite pieces. That's why I showed that gallery, because seeing this piece really inspired me to get you to be our juror. You make there's a little quote here that you said, and it says, "There's no big complicated idea behind it. It's just all about the light, seeing it, feeling it, and trying to capture it as I see it around me. Compositions with a simple, strong design that capture a sense of place also attract me. If my work strikes the same visual and emotional chord in a viewer that it did in me when I painted it, it can make that viewer feel real emotion, then I've succeeded as a painter." And I think that, those words are really, really important to everyone that aspires to be an outstanding painter, whether they're in painting landscapes or whether they're painting abstract paintings or figure paintings. So
Right.
can you speak a little bit about that, so
Yeah.
that everybody can get kind of
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, art, whether it's, landscape like this or an abstract, it has to be about emotion. I mean, that's what art is, love it or hate it. It has to ring an emotional bell in you. And what I try to do in my work is try to say as much as I can with as little as possible.
Now we want to welcome you to the show and his selection. So he's going to speak a little bit later, but perhaps maybe you can tell us a little bit about your selections here.
Yeah, this was called Breakthrough, which I selected as best of show. And why I picked this one was it just stood out for me. It was unexpected, right? It was very, very strong design. The energy pouring off this just grabbed me. A lot of painters would be more inclined to maybe do it more realistically, but I think the way that Charlotte's done it in a very designy way is very unexpected and very unusual. And for that reason, it just stood out amongst all of the work. And even though I know it is on the abstract side for a landscape, but for me, that's totally fine. And it works. And it's a very, very strong piece. And I'm sure on a wall, it would just jump. And but again, it rang my emotional bell right as soon as I saw it. And that's that's why I chose it.
Yeah, and this is, again, the work that was submitted for the show was truly outstanding, and David had to make a real choice as to the best of show. So
I mean, it still has the hallmarks of good painting, great color harmony. The drawing is very strong in terms of perspective into the foreground, into the background, foreground to background. The warm to cool aspect of the light. Those are all hallmarks of a good painter.
mhm. Okay, so then we'll move on to the next one. Here's the best in the oil and acrylic category.
Yeah, this one I thought was it was a beautiful painting. The values here that are handled incredibly well. It's maybe 180 degrees from the way I paint, and I have the greatest respect for people that can blend this way. I have a very hard time doing it, but I certainly respect a painting like this that has all of that. And I have to say that as a rule, I'm not a huge floral fan, but once in a while you see a piece that just goes, wow, that's incredible. And I think this piece, it really everything added up for me on this one. And I think, yeah, it would be incredible on a wall. I can see it just jumping right off the wall.
Yeah, and Malathi did a really great job with this one.
Yeah, the delicate color, within the pinks and the orangey pinks and the yellow pinks and the yellows. It's a gorgeous piece.
Yeah, and then we'll go on to the best in watercolor and gouache.
Yeah, this to me was kind of the best of watercolor in terms of what watercolor should be. Spontaneous, very loose. This kind of reminded me of, the way Edward Hopper painted, although he was a much tighter painter. But there's a freshness, there's a spontaneity to this. The drawing is very strong. Obviously, it's going up a hill there on the right-hand side. That's very hard to do and still get the impression that there's a hill there. But the perspective is bang on. Nice color in the shadows, which is one of the hallmarks of a good watercolor to me. Yeah, I mean, the composition is unusual, a little unexpected, which I like. Yeah, it was just a really good, tight little watercolor.
Okay, and then this piece is wonderful.
Yeah,
drawing.
This is a drawing, obviously, and what I liked about this was the thing that struck me was it was a believable, very charming, believable portrait of a little girl. And I mean, it's really hard to, you think it's easy to do this, but it's very delicately done. It's very convincing. And to me, a good portrait has that quality of that it's able to convince you. It's obviously a real person. There's a look that has been captured in her eyes and her mouth. In terms of pure drawing ability, it's really well done. How she's formed the form of the lips and the skin around the lips there. It's exceedingly well done. It just, again, it grabbed me because it was a little unexpected. I mean, it's a very I wouldn't say it's a haunting expression. I'm trying to come up with a descriptor for it, but it was just utterly charming as a drawing.
It's a very memorable. It's a very memorable piece, from the show. Yeah. It sure is.
Yeah.
So, and then the next category was mixed media.
Oh yeah, this one I liked a lot. Okay, now I have to admit, I have a strong liking for collage. I've done a number of them myself. As I said, in art school, I was a big Robert Rauschenberg fan. And to me, this one was just fun, right? Interesting composition. Roy is obviously a good designer. He knows his way around design. You can tell that by the placement and the size of his images. But just it's fun, right? Even the name is fun, right? Hippodrome Arcade, which is really cool. And I thought, it kind of epitomizes mixed media. You've got magazines, you've got type, you got some looks like some graphic marks in there. Yeah, it's a well done piece, and I thought really was the epitome of mixed media.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, particularly when we talk in terms of the pattern of shape that's here, isn't it?
It is. You know, the girl's head from the 50s with the hairdo, that's your dominant shape. And then how I love the way he's kind of sprinkled the other shapes and design elements around it. Hasn't overdone it, or as I say, hasn't over-egged the omelet. And it's restrained in a way, but it's still fun and it's still interesting.
All right, and then I believe this is our last one, which is the best abstract.
Dock of the Bay, yeah. There were a lot of abstract entries, okay, which is great because I love to look at abstract work. And the reason I chose this one, I thought that it was unexpected, right? But again, it hung together for me. It was a very strong design, you know, rooted by that vertical that goes right down from the bottom right up to the top, as a design element with other things kind of working around it. Great color, you know, the handling of the red to the purple to the blues, the abstract shapes. Now you have to remember that abstracts they look like they're easy to do, but they're not, because they don't represent anything. Like, you know, there are a lot of times there's just color and shape and design. And that makes it really hard because there's nothing for people to kind of hang their hat on representationally. So it's totally intuitive in terms of the artist when you're painting an abstract, because you're not trying to get the light right on the hillside, or you're not trying to get, you know, the road over the bridge to look like what you see. It's totally intuitive. It's all about shape and design and color and what appeals. And with abstracts, you have a much wider range of people to appeal to, because there's nothing representational. Some people will love that, other people will hate it, and that's okay. I mean, it's as I said earlier, it's all about emotion. And for me, this one grabbed me. It had, you know, big chunky shapes and that hung together. It wasn't just drips and scratches and things that were kind of irrelevant. Yeah, I thought it was very strong.
And it has a really strong structural feel to it, doesn't it?
It does. And to me, a good abstract has that. I mean, yeah, it can have desperate elements in it, you know, that are interesting marks or shapes or scratches or whatever, but it has to hang together. And again, somebody like it hangs together for me. For somebody else, I might look at it and go, I don't get it, you know, and that's okay. That's all right, you know. You look at the best abstract work that's been done. It's structurally, you know, look at De Bencoren and Franz Klein. These guys. I mean, it's powerfully structured and well drawn.
Yeah, it is. It was a great choice. And then I think these are our honorable mentions now.
Yeah. I should say that all the honorable mentions at one time may or may not have been close to a winner. So these are like runners up for me. This girl, the portrait of a lady, it had a presence. You know, this girl, there's a I don't know, there's a dignity in her face. I love the composition, how it's just off center a little bit, not centered down the middle, balanced with that little bouquet of roses. It's a fine painting. The color work on the face is excellent.
Yeah, she really captured the emotions, I think, in color as well as in the subject. You know, I think the colors really go really well with the pose.
Yeah.
This just did a wonderful job with that. And then the next piece.
Fiery petals. Yeah, this one, I don't know, it just grabbed me. Like, very well done, very well painted. The values are excellent. You know, a lot of times you see sunflowers, you see the whole sunflower, but not often do you see somebody where they've kind of zeroed right in on a chunk of it. And it's a powerful composition. I'm sure on a wall it would be incredibly strong. But the drawing in it is great. The color values are great. It's a strong piece.
Okay, and this is when we talk in terms of close-ups, this is one of the ones where we really get a close-up of something,
Yeah.
I think is you picked a great show because you did give us a variety of ways we're looking at things. And I think this is a great one for, that close-up.
Yeah.
How about this piece?
Yeah, this one again, unexpected. I love the color in it. It reminds me of a painter that passed away last year, Wolf Kahn, very popular color painter. But the shapes in it, the color of the light on that shadowed side of the building, the reflected light coming up off the ground, the shadow in that green slash across. I really like from a design standpoint. Yeah, it was just an unexpected house. No, I even like the fact there's no windows in it, right? Well, maybe there's a little one down there in that lower left corner, but yeah, it was just a very strong piece.
Okay, and then let's see what else we have. I think this is we have maybe one or two others yet. How about this piece?
Yeah. I mean, this was we just saw a close-up of a sunflower, and this one backs off on it. But I really like the design of this, and I love the color that she's got going on in that foreground flower. The pinks, the oranges, the yellows, the greens. I think it's I love the composition, how she's pulled that foreground flower forward and yet pushed the other flowers in the garden towards the back, making a really interesting design. And again, it grabbed me. It was an unexpected sunflower scene, yeah, it struck me very hard.
Yeah, this is this was our winner from last year, by the way. So
oh yeah,
so
you mean as a painter?
Yeah, so she got an honorable mention this year.
Yeah. Holly knows her way around paint.
She does color too, I think that's one of the things. Okay, and then the next one is Sue Levin.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like this one. It was interesting. Again, unexpected forest floor that you don't usually see. Those bands of color that she's put in. Who knows where that comes from, but it works. Obviously, you don't see that in nature, but to Susan, and obviously it was something that appealed to her, and she put it in, and it appealed to me.
This is a fascinating one because it really leaves a lot to your imagination, and you can see figures in here, and you can see certainly trees, of course, but there's almost a figurative quality to it, which I thought was.
There's some very strong drawing going on there too. I mean, she knows her way around form.
And so I think that's it for your picks. Just to kind of give everybody an idea of the work that was submitted, that you chose.
Yeah.
And maybe you can just speak in general about the show itself.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was strong. And I think, you guys, and certainly to your credit, Walter, as being the driving force for years of behind the show, the regional shows like this, I think, are the lifeblood of painting in any country, where you're organizing shows and people and instructors in painting. And the Maryland group is certainly very strong. You can see there's a really good work right across the board.
Yeah, it was difficult, I think, for you.
It wasn't an easy task, I'll tell you. I think everybody that's in the show deserves to be congratulated. Many of them were very close to either winning or honorable mentions. So nobody in here should feel that they were left out or wasn't liked. to me, it was all liked. It was all strong.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you so much. I think
right.
you've done
Well, yeah,
a wonderful job for us. I was so impressed when we hung the show. I can tell you it's one of the best we've had. People came in and said, hey, they get better every year. And thanks to you, I think, and your choices,
thank you.
it made such a difference. And it's a pleasure meeting you, honestly. And I hope everybody realizes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, and goodbye and good painting.